our recommendation to you, and I think you all already have it, the water side, it was $179,300,966, and the sewer projects totaled $94,742,495. So we got within just under $1 million of the 275. The total is $274,043,461. That leaves about $973,000 on the table.
And a number of members had expressed some interest too, and I think one of the projects that was right at the cutoff line on there, which was a fairly large project for the city of Natchitoches. And it may be, perhaps it's appropriate to have somebody from LDH share the table and
Yes, sir. LDH would know the specifics of the project, dollar grant request. There's some. We're confused a little bit about the dollar value. There's two dollar values that are in the application. It's a $31 million project that would rehab their existing plant, and then there's a $52 million project that is for a brand new plant. So yes, I would yield to LDH for specifics about the project, though.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Natchitoches
Sure.
project?
So the city of Natchitoches proposed a new water treatment plant, and the cost was about $52 million. So their request was for $5 million, which would be, like a tenth of what they need total for their new water treatment plant. So their proposal also included a cost estimate for a rehab of their existing facility, which was about $30 million. But the city is choosing to build a new treatment plant, not where their existing plant is right now.
Okay. Representative Zerang.
Amanda, again, to reiterate what Mike said, appreciate all the work you, LDH, DEQ did. Y'all did a great job considering
Thank you.
all the work y'all had to put into it. But in regard to this request, so you're saying there were two separate projects that were lumped into one, or they applied for two different projects?
It was one application, but they had to, like an alternate one and alternate two. And so ultimately, they were just stating that we looked at this as an option to rehab our current facility. We're choosing to build a new plant.
And previously, they had applied for some support, and the recommendation from everyone was, from you all, were to rehab or at least invest into fixing what they have, right?
Right. They did put in an application with the revolving loan fund, our drinking water revolving loan fund, in 2020. There were two different applications. One was for distribution system upgrades, and the other one was to rehab their existing plant. It wasn't for a new plant.
Okay, so.
But that was in 2020.
20, all right.
Right.
And from, in your opinion, in terms of what you've seen or experienced from the previous request, it would still be the recommendation to pursue improving the existing structure or redoing the structure that they have? They
are also restructuring the overall kind of governing water system. They're looking to go into a private-public partnership. And so they also had a letter in their application that stated that they could receive funding from a third party, to get their $52 million total. So it's more than just doing a new plan. It's also kind of restructuring their whole business.
Which is kind of interesting in so much, obviously, it exceeds the $5 million request, but also we're applying for two separate projects. Yeah, we need to at least consider that more, Mr. Chairman, and how we're going to approach that particular project. I know some other members might have some questions as well.
Okay. Senator McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chairman. In light of the discussions that are taking place right now regarding this Natchitoches project, and factoring in the precedents that we have now of the project in St. Tammany, I believe it was project number 624, being bypassed. But I would like to offer up a new spreadsheet. Maybe we can have staff pass this around. And this would make the following changes to the division's recommendations. It would remove as we work out the Natchitoches project, it would remove project number 644 and add a project in Morgan City in St. Mary Parish and a United Water Systems, Inc. project in St. Martin Parish. So if anybody wants to take a look at this and
Yes, sir. Representative Rising.
The question, Senator, and I understand, just want to make sure they've met all the criteria, and that's documented, they've met their criteria, though.
for the two, it is my understanding that these two projects have met the criteria. Mr. I don't
Okay.
know, Mr. Moses wants to answer that question.
Yes, sir. I will point out, and maybe I should have done this earlier as well, that the two projects that the Senator just mentioned were actually two HB2 projects that would have met the cutoff of a project score of 69. In fact, one scored 69 and the other scored 70. In order to balance it, to get us close to the 275 million, those two were removed because they were in HB2 and we still would have opportunities to fund those going forward in the bill. So that's the reason those two were removed. So with this action, it would put those two back in the consideration for being funded here. And what that does, it actually makes every project that's being recommended, except for St. Tammany and then possibly the Natchitoches, would have met that score of a 69 on the water side. So yes, sir, they did meet all the requirements.
So, you want to recap, just to, because I know that some of the math is going to change a little bit here, but if my math is correct, this would allocate, so if we removed project number 644, bypass it, and added project 123 and number 74, the overall allocation would be $274,150,604 from the water sector fund to the 87 entities contained in this list, and of that amount, $179,408,109 is allocated to the fund water projects, and $94,742,495. That number is not going to change. That's the sewer projects. So I would actually go ahead and like to make up a formal motion to approve the spreadsheet of the proposed Water Sector Commission recommendations, which would make the changes that I just recently discussed.
Members, we have a motion by Senator McMath on the proposed Water Sector Commission recommendations that you have in front of you that allocates $274,150,604 in water sector programs to 87 entities. $179,408,109 is allocated to water projects. $94,742,495 allocated to sewer projects. And they're reflected in the list that you have in front of you. Is there any objection to the motion? All right, hearing no objection, then that proposed list of Water Sector Commission recommendations are adopted.